Now, this is the track I race at for a Mini Z, Maximus Speedway. Carpet track is behind me for 110 or smaller. I'll show that, but you can see the off-road carpet nationals were about a month or so ago. But this long straightaway here, start finish line, hard right. This is the current layout into what's called the lollipop or round, and then starts semi-technical course where it's turns, little straightaways, turns, and the shark tooth. And if you time it right, you don't have to go. You can go straight through that. It's not quite a chicane. And then a couple sharp turns, and then a U-turn right back onto the straightaway. And what was happening about a week or so ago was could not turn anywhere after a long straightaway. You could turn here on the turns, but when you go to the long straightaway, my car and a lot of other cars were not turning at all. And I was here early, it was Saturday, and I just kept playing and eventually figured out what was going on. I'll show that. And I was talking to one of the long-term drivers. Remember, I'm a noob. I've only been at this for about 5 weeks now, but he had the same issue, couldn't turn, and we were playing around with the springs on the front, and I'll show that in a second. I'll try and merge these videos again in a little bit when I sit down at my pit station. But this is the current layout, and it'll probably change again in about another month or two. So, and then I'll spin around here just so you can see. This is the stand for that. This is the carpet track. Loops up here. They just changed this last weekend. So it actually runs, they're coming up this way, then down, back around, long straightaway, turn here, jump over, go down, U-turn over that, and then driving under where people are jumping. So that's kind of funny. So, and then there's this pit setup all the way through there. So we'll cut over to the car now. Thanks. RC and stuff. About a week and a half ago, I've only been racing this Mini Z for 4 weeks, but just trying to get handling, and went down there to the track, just spend the day and see what I can do, and it would not turn. There's a long straightaway. Actually, I'm loading the video up here, so you've already seen that. That long straightaway would not turn. One that I ended up doing was changing the springs, because I had I had the yellows in along with yellow, and then I had a hard T-plate on. But as you can see, now I've got the purples. But one thing, when I was looking around, one of the YouTubers, I'll post the link to the video, he was talking about the ride height, and ways to change the ride height is use the MRO3 springs instead of on the MRO4. The MRO4 springs are taller than the MRO3 springs, and so that's a way you can lower the height of the car and not affect that much. What you do affect is it takes more force to compress this spring than on the MRO4 spring, the MRO3, just because it's smaller and the physics say more force. So what you might end up doing is having to go to a softer spring just to get the right amount of give, if it's, because it might be too stiff. So here's another way to adjust. Now, did this work? Yes, because by the end of the day, I was able to turn, and my times were where I was the week before. Not great, but I had gotten the handling down. And then I further worked things around I was running the standard 39, 30 Shore slicks on the front, and then did the PN Racing. This is also 30 Shore, and these two tires handle dramatically differently. This one is much more grip than this one, even though they're rated as the same hardness. And that helped out even better. And then I dropped the rears 20 to 10 super soft, and at that point, that's when I was running the times. Now, this was Saturday, so I come in Sunday morning and getting ready to go, and I was traction rolling every single lap. I could not make the turn off that long run. It was just, and it was all these turns. And what I noticed was typical New England summer morning humidity. We got some good Canadian air, and the humidity had dropped way down. And one of the racers there, been at the track a long time, had talked to me Saturday, and he came in and said, when it came up, "You having trouble turning?" I said, "Yeah, but I've got to figure it out with the springs." And when he came in Sunday for the club race, I said, "You're going to have to go back to the setup. It's dried out because the high humidity just had heavy moisture on the RCP and affected the grip. Drier air, the grip increased." Now, does this make sense? Yes, because I've seen it in if you're watching football or soccer, or sorry, football / soccer or golf, you'll see the same thing where depending on the moisture, on the wetness of the grass, the ball will travel more or not. It's got drier grip, or it's wet, it's a lot smoother. So it's the same physics concept on the track. So people always say adjust the tires to what you need on the track, but realize RCP is the same material no matter where. And so if you go to some place with very high dew point, high humidity, and we know the place indoor tracks aren't truly humidity controlled, make arrangements for the track to be no grip, and you'll need to do some stuff to increase your grip. If you're running in a very dry area, say Phoenix, or I'm wondering how this place will be in the winter, I'll find that out, where there's no humidity essentially at all, it's going to be very tight grip. And so that case, you're going to want to have hard drop everything down as much as possible not to have grip. And literally, once I changed the tires back to the Kyosho 30s Shore on the front and the 20 Shore on the back, moved the springs back and forth, I went back up to orange. I'm now purple because I've done some other things since then. I got back to the times where I was Saturday. So, key learning: look at the dew point and see how the track is handling. And if it's a technical track or have a high-speed run getting to technical, can't turn. And it wasn't just me; it was all the racers were having that issue. And some guys, just came in, we're going to practice, and just ran 10 laps and said, "Nope, not turning," and not working, and going. I wanted to figure out how to take care of it, and this is how you do it, is just adjust the tires, adjust the springs, and look at that. So thanks all. I hope this helps.